All right, 7 o'clock in the East, and we will not waste any time. This is the moment where we move from those months of speculations to actual results.
That's right. The polls have just closed in 6 states, and NBC News is ready to make our first projections of the night. Here we go. We start with the state of Kentucky. NBC News projects that Donald Trump will win in Kentucky tonight. Let's move to Vermont. NBC News projects that Vermont will go in the Kamala Harris column this evening. This is where it brings us on the road to 270 right now. The early start, Donald Trump out in front with 8 electoral votes, 3 for Harris. A long way to go to get that 270, but that's where we are right now.
Well, polls closed in a handful of states, and these are the ones we haven't called yet: Indiana, South Carolina, Virginia, and that all-important state of Georgia. And here's how we're projecting it right now. Too early to call. It may come tonight, but it's not coming this exact moment. So we will continue to watch. We don't have any results yet to show you out of Georgia. It is simply too early to call. But Georgia is one of the faster states to count. So as I go over to Tom Llamas, who's starting to pull up the big board there and looking into some of the states that we're looking at. See, you've got Kentucky up on your map. Why is that?
This is the earliest data we're having so far. We have called Kentucky for former President Trump so far. I'm just trying to get a lay of the land to see, how is it looking compared to 2020? Again, a lot of that vote is still out, but we were able to make the projection as we explained to you. I also want to talk about Indiana because we're getting some vote data here. Still too early to call. Remember, only 14% of that vote is in right now. We also have this great feature on our board where we can show you where the remaining vote is. So obviously, the bigger the bubble is around those counties, that's how many votes are still outstanding. So here in the Indianapolis region, still a ton of votes waiting there. This is a state that Republicans have really done very, very well in elections past. If you go back here, Trump in 2020 won by about 16 points. Before that, it was even higher against Hillary Clinton. This is a state that Republicans are going to be safely in the win column, most likely. One of the places we can start to get data from is Hamilton County, with 60% of the vote in. This is not a great sign for Trump right now, but again, I want to be very clear. It's only 60% of the vote in, and this is what I'm talking about. 52% is what he won in 2020. She's on top right now with about 50% of the vote. There's about 1,300 vote difference right now. Again, still very early, but this is the first data we're getting tonight, so we're kind of parsing what we can so far. There are big areas like South Bend, Pete Buttigieg, who was the mayor there, obviously, where Notre Dame is as well, and the big city of Indianapolis, Evansville. There's a university down there. If we look at the map in 2020, these are mostly rural counties, red counties where Trump can really run up the vote. But again, in some of these smaller counties, he wants to be 60, 70% to make sure he can overcome what she's going to get in Indianapolis. But still very early tonight, Savannah. We're going to get a lot of data as it's coming in, hot and heavy throughout the night. But right now, still very, very early.
This is when we get the tea leaves out. This is the tea leaves portion of the night. And, you have a red state. You know that that Trump will prevail most likely. Same thing with Kentucky. But sometimes we can look into those counties and particularly the suburbs, because that is where we're starting to see a trend. Did I read your mind?
Oh, Savannah, we're mind melding because I'm looking at Hamilton County and I'm going, okay, people at home are probably going, wait a second, Hamilton County, was I supposed to know about that one? Was that one of the big ones? Here's why it's so interesting. It's because of the tea leaves, Savannah, and because of the trend lines as well, right? This is a county where Republican margins have been shrinking over time. Democrats have been making inroads. It is a suburban county. It is something similar that we see in places like Georgia, right? In some of these places in Pennsylvania and elsewhere. And that is what's so interesting about Hamilton. Let's not over-index on it. It's early, so that's why we're interested in it, because it's at least some data that's coming into us. But that's part of the story here.
You can see the importance of some of these places by how many times the candidates have visited. Donald Trump, 8 trips to Georgia, 7 for Kamala Harris. I mean, we cover it every night, them in this state and that state, but when you see it laid out, it's quite amazing.
It really is. And when you think about the state of Georgia, we'll be looking at those Atlanta suburbs. What types of margins do we see there? That's how President Biden wound up eking out a victory. And then the exurbs. That's where Donald Trump does well. Forsyth, Cherokee. Can he run up the margins there? If he's going to win the state of Georgia, he'll do it in those territories.
Let's take it a step out, because these are themes that will run throughout the night. Kamala Harris has to get the turnout up in the cities. She has to get her margins even higher in the suburbs, and why she has to make up for the rural vote that is expected for Donald Trump. And he has been very good in past elections at finding these voters who aren't traditional voters who come and vote for the first time.
Absolutely. That's where the ground game is so significant. And tonight will be, to some extent, a test not only of their campaigns, but of the ground games. Was the Trump campaign able to get out some of those voters who don't typically go out and vote? One note about Pennsylvania, one of the biggest states we're going to be watching throughout the course of the night. Joe Biden won it not just by running up the margin in the Philadelphia county, but in the suburbs of Philadelphia, those collar counties that make all the difference. Hallie and I are both in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
That's our Bucks County in the House, folks.
Yeah, what do the exit polls tell you?
Okay, so let me disengage myself from the chair here because we can start to get into some of the vote breaks here in Georgia. And here's what's really interesting. We've talked about people who identify as independents. This is a category, right, of voter that Vice President Harris really extended an olive branch to. She wanted to win them over. But look at this. Based on our exit poll data, it is Donald Trump winning independents, nearly a double-digit margin over Vice President Harris in the state of Georgia. Here's your grain of salt caveat. These are early numbers. They may shift a little bit throughout the night, but this is really interesting here. And if you're wondering, well, how does this compare to 2020? Let me pull that up here because he is overperforming. Donald Trump is overperforming his numbers with independent voters in Georgia this cycle than he did last cycle by a significant margin, by about 10 points as well. The other piece of this, too, let's look at the gender gap in Georgia. The gender gap, it exists here, folks. We are seeing, and we'll pull up this board in a second here, Kamala Harris winning with women, Donald Trump winning with men. And I'll tell you, as I walk back over to the table here, that is something else we'll be watching here throughout the night. She's got to do really well with women. He wants to do really well with men. And in my conversations with campaign sources just in the last couple of hours, they're looking at that as well.
We've called this election perhaps the battle of the sexes election, so we'll see how that plays out. I think we've got a winner to announce, key projection in the state of Indiana. And no surprise here, Donald Trump will win that state again. Here's the data that's just coming in. See if we can get some numbers. And you now know, because we've taken you inside the decision desk, how is it that we can project this with just 15% of the vote counted? It is because we are confident that the margin is sufficient to make that call. So let's let's go to the 270 map. We're going to see this a lot, and we start to fill in some of the gray. Indiana, red for Donald Trump. Let me go right over to Tom Llamas, who's actually looking at Florida. So Florida had a poll close. Or is it about to poll close?
Yeah, they've closed. We have some voting data.
Okay.
And we have in Osceola County. I wanted to show this, why this is important. So here in Florida, we have the I-4 corridor, right? And this is kind of the central part of the state. It cuts right through here. When you think about Florida, you can think about it in three parts. The Panhandle, it's very red. That's Trump country in a lot of those counties. South Florida, usually reliably Democratic, but Republicans have made some inroads. And it's this I-4 corridor that is really the swing region. It's also the area where you find a large number of Puerto Rican voters as well. So when we come into Osceola, I wanted to highlight this because we have 71% of the vote in. This is usually a reliably blue county for Democrats. Again, not all of the vote is in. It is still early, but you can see Harris is underperforming in what is historically a blue county for Democrats. 56 for Joe Biden in 2020, 51 for Harris right now with 71% of the vote in. Again, it's still very early. So how is Trump doing? Well, in a county that he usually does very well in, Volusia County on the East Coast here, 56% in 2020 with 70% of the vote in. He's now at 59%. So he's overperforming. Again, still a lot of vote out. Still a lot to do here and kind of see where the vote is going. But those are good signs for the president. Listen, Florida has been trending red. Trump won it in 2016. He won it in 2020. Actually, in 2016, when that political earthquake happened, it really happened once we started calling Florida. 30 electoral votes. The map gets very, very hard for Trump if he doesn't win Florida. Without Florida, his sort of strategy in the blue wall and everywhere else kind of collapses. He needed this in the win column. Still very early. Right now, statewide, only 18% of the vote is in. We can find out where that remaining vote is tonight. So you can see in the major cities, Tampa, we're still going to find out how that hurricane, both Milton and Helene, affected voters there. Pinellas County, just to the west of that, a big swing county. Orlando, that's a hub for Democrats. Duval County, we actually have some vote in Duval County. I want to take a look at this. This is Governor Ron DeSantis' old district when he was a representative. This has been a swing county. Biden won it, but Trump won it in 2016. Harris is doing pretty well. In 2020, Biden was at 51. She's now at 50%. 66% of the vote is still out. This is a county that Republicans had hoped to flip. We're going to have to wait and see. But again, that vote's trickling in, but we can start to kind of read those tea leaves, Savannah and Lester, and kind of see where the vote's going. Again, still very early, but this has to be a win for Trump. If not, it's going to be a very long night for Republicans.
And a rapid pace there as well in the counting. We're seeing that in some places tonight.
We anticipate, of course, as Tom's just saying, that Florida is a good state for Donald Trump. It is also the first test of Trump's strength. So that is why why all of those areas that Tom is just laying out, these are, again, very early data so far, but significant nonetheless, because it will help us, once we get in more, understand how strong he's
Fun
running.
fact alert for those who remember the hanging chads of 2000.
Oh, yes.
Florida, in the wake of that debacle, has some of the fastest vote counting in the country. So I tell you, you will not be waiting for Florida for very long tonight. They really get that vote counted very, very quickly. They have the modern machines. They're allowed to pre-process the ballots. So you won't have to wait too long for that.
At this point, are we seeing anything unexpected, though?
So far, I do think the independent numbers are going to be really interesting to watch throughout the course of the night, especially in what we saw in those early national exit polls, that a lot of people were identifying not as Republican, not as Democrat, but as independent. So that's a storyline to watch. I'll tell you another trend as we're talking about Florida. Osceola County has a large Puerto Rican population, the biggest of any county, I believe, in Florida. And this is something that I've heard in my conversations with Democratic campaign officials and those close to the campaign, that they feel like that is a part of the Latino population that they can really try to move the needle with here after those controversial comments from that opener for former President Trump.
Well, actually, let's go over to Tom on that. I should say the polls close at 8 o'clock in Florida, but you do get some information for 7 o'clock poll close timings. I think that's part of the confusion here. But talking about this Osceola County, it's a third Puerto Rican.
Close, right, yeah.
Right. So it's interesting because you have the Latinos down in Miami-Dade. I know, go ahead and give your shout out. Miami-Dade is the greatest.
Just the greatest county, greatest people. I mean, I could keep going.
But obviously, this is, Latinos come from different backgrounds and have different voting patterns here.
Yeah, it is not monolithic, just like really every minority group. It is not monolithic. The Puerto Ricans have tended to voted more Democratic. Cuban Americans, Venezuelan Americans have trended lately more towards the Republican side. But I do want to remind you, too, during the Obama years, Obama was able to pull back some of that Cuban American vote. It has changed in recent years. We're getting more data. As you mentioned, Florida's very fast in putting in their data out. So we were talking about Osceola again, their big Puerto Rican population. The same with Orange. This is Orlando. This is a big Democratic stronghold here. Again, 60% in. Look, I don't want to draw too many inferences from this, but you have Biden at 61. Harris is at 58. You could say she's sort of underperforming, but I also want to say it's only 60% in. A bigger number that's coming in that I think is more important, guys, I want to talk about right now is Broward County. This is just north of Miami-Dade. Think about Fort Lauderdale, think about Sunrise, all those areas and those big cities that have been growing over the years, especially post-pandemic. This needs to be a place where Democrats really drive up the vote, right? Hillary Clinton won big here, 66%. Biden did the same at 64. Tonight, Harris is at 60. Again, I always point to this number, all the votes not in, but if you were to call it right now, she is slightly underperforming. We'll wait for that other vote to come in. Guys, over to you.
Tom, thanks very much. We are just minutes away from polls closing in Ohio and battleground North Carolina. We're standing by to make some new calls in the race for the White House. Stay with us. Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.